Hey, this is John, and I'm going to give you a quick virtual tour of Duluth using the MetaQuest 3. Is it an S or, well, whatever it is, but this is called the World Lens VR. It's a nice 3D program here. Now, of course, you can't really see 3D on a 2D screen, but I think you can still pretty much see because it's a 3D program. And definitely if you're wearing it. Well, anyway, all right, let's just get into it. So what you can see here is like we're kind of like a little bit south of Superior here. And by the way, we're going to do like Duluth, Superior, and some of the surrounding areas, by the way, so we're not leaving out Superior here. So anyway, get down a little bit. So what you can see, first of all, is you can kind of see that, like, okay, the whole Duluth is built up on this big, like, plateau. You got to almost see it on a 3D. Yeah, just see it there. How, yeah, you never think about that so much, or maybe I don't so much, but yeah, that's a whole nother big plateau. Man has scaled the grand old face of the plateau. Oh, maybe they were actually talking about Duluth. Yeah, especially because Duluth was mentioned in another one of their songs. The Meat Pup is actually who then that song got more famous from Nirvana. But anyway, all right. So right now we're over the Nemadji River, by the way. So this area over in Superior, this is more like a flat area and everything. And you can see across there. Okay, so there's Lake Superior, and then you can see that narrow spit of land. It's basically one big piece of land, Wisconsin Point down there, all the way up to Park Point, all the way up to Canal Park, and except for the opening there, and then the other opening for the canal up there, then it's basically like just one big piece of land. It's just, like it's kind of a mirror image on the other side, over on Wisconsin Point. Anyway, it's not as busy a beach and everything, but anyway, I think maybe we'll come a little bit back to this area, but let's just go up to Duluth here. Just passing over Superior here. So that's the Nemadji River, which goes along this area where there's all these like refineries and stuff you can see here. And there is like the Nemadji campground. That's the place where my dad would always camp down in that area. But anyway, so we're just heading up here. You can see how straight across. You can see that, like, you can see like how far you have to drive to get over from this point there, and you could think if you had some kind of like amphibious vehicle, you could get over a lot quicker, huh? Oh, I actually did have a funny story where I was doing like DoorDash this one time, and it was like they had me go from like the McDonald's like over here. Let's see, where is it? Where's that McDonald's? Okay, right. I think that's it right there. McDonald's. Okay. Wait, do I got that screwed up? Hold on 1 second. Oh wait, that's the Super One. Okay, so that's the. Okay, there's McDonald's right there. So anyway, they had me go. DoorDash had me to go from that McDonald's all the way over to the beach house on Park Point, which is somewhere like over there, because as far as like radius, yeah, that would be the closest McDonald's, but it would only be the fastest McDonald's if you had like an amphibious vehicle. So anyway, all right, so you can just see here that if you like the flat part of town, which sometimes I do get kind of tired of like the hills in Duluth, and it is kind of nice to go over someplace kind of open and like Superior. So that's actually, there's lots of benefits on being kind of like on a borderland between things that change like that. Anyway, so we're just going to go up Highway 53 here. Now you can really see how it's just a giant wall there. And now my understanding, and like I've been trying to learn geology lately, but my understanding is there's like the mid-continent rift where it released a bunch of lava and stuff. It made like, a lot of this, all the rock around here, all the igneous rock, which is rock that comes from lava, and it kind of split apart and formed like the lake here. Now now on the other side, on the south side, there is like another ridge line, but it's a little further down. You can kind of see it here a little bit, but it's a little further than like Superior and stuff. But the Superior, I believe, was mostly kind of the pretty built up of this Superior of like the same type stuff, pretty much like the sand and stuff, or it's like glacial till or something. So, but anyway, the bottom line is that basically in Superior, there's no like, you don't see like all the bedrock, which is exposed bedrock outcroppings like you do in Duluth. So I don't know. That's an interesting thing to notice. That, at least a person like me. And then you can see there's okay, so that's the Bong Bridge over there. And you can see there all that place that's in the hill there. That's where the lanes. That's Spirit Mountain right there. You can see that. And then so we're gonna go across the Blotnick Bridge. Okay, so here's like the main like port terminal and stuff down here. I guess all the international ships go into this area. I don't know, but anyway, that's like where they, yeah. And then kind of like the main rail hub there, like in Duluth. Okay, so now you can really see the hills here. Okay, so now you can see downtown there. Now in this one right now, I think sometimes it does a better job. Oh, you know what I think it is? I think it depends on the city. Sometimes it doesn't always do a great job of the 3D rendering of the buildings. But yeah, there you can see is the downtown, the lift bridge. And then you can see this massive. But let's just kind of focus on now maybe understanding kind of like the shape of the land, because sometimes it's hard to kind of understand sometimes what's going on by just, when you're there. And to me, I don't know, I guess it's a thing. And to tie into some of the stuff that I was talking about in the rest of this channel, but which I wasn't really talking about today so much, was that idea of like abstraction, putting things into categories, just kind of like understanding things. It's satisfying to the mind. See, even from this thing, you can really see that I guess it's gabbro is what it's. And some of the stuff I think is gabbro and granite. I think it's okay, but anyway, I think gabbro. But anyway, all that rock. So there's some big cliffs here. Now this area here is what's known as the Point of Rocks, and I don't even know if that term gets used all that much because it seems like I've read it more like in older places. But anyway, and I think it used to be even bigger. Like I think maybe this area down here was even part of it. Let's see, and I think there was kind of like along here, like a little ridge line where you could see like some out. So I think it may have actually even, this whole big massive rock actually may have almost come down to the highway here at one time. I'd have to find that out at some point if anybody knows. Oh, by the way, that's the old depot there, but which is a nice place to go to. It's a nice museum anyway. And you can take the tour train from there too. But anyway, yeah, but I think that big massive rock, it used to go like, from what I understand, like much further down toward the shoreline, and it kind of like was a much more of a, I mean, you could already see this as kind of a constricted part between East and West Duluth, which if you want to consider that to be the dividing line, I guess that historically was, but it was even more of a dividing line back in the day when there was like only one road, not cars and stuff like that. So anyway, so yeah, so if you drive up Masaba, you can see those giant massive rocks there, the outcroppings. Well, they're outcroppings, but also it's part of those are blasted as well, of course, too. So yeah, they had to blast a lot of that away. So all right, so let's just go up here a little bit, and then here's the downtown here. That's Copper Top Church, that triangular thing there. Popular place to park and look out. Now sometimes I got to go a little bit. If it depends certain times, like where this thing's like updating faster than others. Yeah. I live kind of like in that neighborhood, by the way, but okay. And actually, maybe we can just go on that skyline, that what we did like the last time, that last video on skyline. So basically starting here where we did before on 7th Street and Skyline. There's one, like my favorite house in Duluth. There's, I call it the High Castle because I like that book, The Man in the High Castle. It's kind of a mysterious thing. And I thought like, okay, yeah, it actually looks pretty good if I let it zoom in for a second. I always thought, okay, the guy there, he's the man in the high castle. I guess technically these other ones are a little higher than his, but still, I mean, I think his is the most castle looking. So anyway, all right, so then you go. So basically what you kind of see in these different areas, there's a kind of a lot of sub hills on the big hill. If that's now that's called the Antenna Farm Observation Hill. So let's see, I guess Observation Hill is basically that maybe, or and maybe these areas. Okay, I guess I don't know for sure, but yeah, okay, I think it's that whole area with the antenna farms there. So there's a bunch of these antennas. They don't look too good in this map actually, but so this program's pretty good, but in some parts it doesn't render certain things good. Okay, so you can see how there's kind of some hills here, but then you can see there's just like we did the thing when we were driving this way yesterday. Now we're doing it virtually. So you can see that big hill there, that big knob of a hill that sticks out. That's where you can see that's Anger Tower right there. In this thing, it looks more triangular than it is in reality. And you can see there's the Twin Ponds, and then the way that you used to that's actually Skyline, and that's another road or whatever. I forgot what it's called, but anyway. But the thing is now it's just if you go that way, you get looped around the circle here. and it's actually the same distance if you think about it. It's just that, sometimes maybe in the old days I might have chose to drive that way because actually sometimes, despite the beautiful outlook, the thing is sometimes I feel more like driving out in the woods. I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, there's lots of contrast because you can get tired of anything, and let's admit it. I mean, I get tired of being at the beach after a few minutes. I mean, if I'm just because, this is like my attitude, my brain that I can somehow like some kind of ADD where I get like too, so it's, I don't know. So it's good to have those contrasts. Like you might like, even when you're at Anchor Tower, for example, you could be sitting right down that area and there's a really nice like canopy area with, oh, dang it. Okay. But there's a really nice canopy area there and a nice garden and under the trees and acorns and squirrels. And, you could be sitting that's right down that area. And you don't even realize that you're way up on the top of a hill overlooking a big open area, but then you just go right up there and you just look out at the open area. So I don't know, there's a thing where sometimes people actually tend to like want open areas and sometimes people don't, so is it like aquaphobia is like the fear of like open spaces? So anyway. All right, but there's some really spectacular views. So we're along Skyline Boulevard here. All right, so now we're going up by the golf course here. It's now you're kind of, so there's some of these stretches where you don't, on Skyline, where you're not seeing you're not in the big overlook as much. Okay, then you can see there's some more. Okay, then this area on Skyline's relatively flat and not much, but then when you get up here, then you get back to the big hills. And of course, Skyline's not the only road that has like overlooks and stuff, but it's like the main one, but a lot of other ones too. Oh, and I gotta say, like, let's give it to the Duluth Council or the Duluth City that they do a really good job of giving you good access to like nature, letting you have like overlooks and not having like paid parking lots and all that kind of stuff, because it's like, I went to some place like Huntsville, Alabama, where my dad used to live, and they have it's called this Montesano, this big mountain on the east side of town. That's really, cool and everything. But then when you go to the top, there's not really hardly even like an overlook or any place. It's like all just like rich houses. So, so really, and I was saying this the other day that there's some rich houses along here and some, but then especially along that one part I was talking about, but for the most part, no, it's still mostly green. Now, I don't know if some of this might be hard to build on too, but I think I don't know, that'd be something to research sometime. I'm not sure about how much of it's publicly owned and how much, anyway. So, okay, this is what I call the horseshoe here. And let's see. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's wrong. This is Haynes Road, okay. It's a nice house there. Okay, so this is Haynes Road, and now you have to make this left turn onto Haynes Road to continue on Skyline, which actually kind of sucks a little bit because you're all relaxed, like do, lost your thoughts on this like Skyline Parkway. Then it's like you got to make this left. And people go kind of fast through there, and it's kind of a sharp turn. So anyway, now this is some really nice outcroppings here. Now I've been told that this stuff, a lot of this tan stuff is like the sandstone, which I called quinoa sandstone, which I didn't know we actually had sandstone in Duluth, but yeah, it's just more like, it's similar to the Hinckley sandstone. Anyway, it's not like the soft stuff they have down south, but anyway, that's about all we're going to say about geology right now. So anyway, so then you can see there's another big thing here. And by the way, there's all kinds of trails through there. Yeah, I think, is that one of the biking trails, or that's like well, anyway, there's all kinds of trails that go all along here too. And then, okay, now you're looking down on West Duluth, like that's Denfeld High School there. The Bong Bridge back into Superior. Okay, all right, so we're back on Skyline here. And then you can see, okay, you got some of these. Okay, is that the one that used to be a quarry? Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, that's kind of interesting. Have I been down to, I don't know if I've actually been down to that. Okay, I guess you actually have to, okay, you got to park up there and hike down there, I guess, anyway. All right, so and then on Skyline, okay, this is the area I was called the Horseshoe. And I forget what river this is, but you can see see how Skyline does like a horse, goes up there, turns around. If you could there actually is like a pedestrian bridge where you can go across there. So if you're walking, you can actually get through a lot quicker than have to go up this whole curve. But yeah, I think I guess you can get by on a bike too. I think through there, but I mean, you can definitely walk through there, And then, yeah, around this, I forget what which creek this is, but anyway. And then you get up here, and that's about where we ended. But then let's see if we want to go further now. Here, go a little faster. Okay, so let's go down more here, down by the St. Louis River estuary. Now the estuary, I don't know, that's one of those things that almost sounded like a marketing ploy, because they used to only use that is talk about the zone in the ocean that was mixing between fresh and salt water, but also those are places that are kind of like almost like extensions of the oceans because they're usually deeper. So using that analogy and then thinking that the water here is still more like the lake, they kind of call this like the largest freshwater estuary on Earth. Just like we have the largest freshwater aquarium. So everything, that's kind of a little bit of a joke about putting the adjective freshwater and everything to, not that I'm saying all those things aren't great. I'm just saying it's a little bit of a marketing thing. Let's see, I think that's called Clough Island. It's interesting. At one time they wanted to make this like a luxury type thing. Like an ice cream truck outside, by the way. I guess that's not copyrighted music, hopefully. Anyway, they were going to make this like a luxury. Somebody had bought it, some developer. They're going to make it for some kind of like luxury golf course community, I guess. Yeah. So the whole thing would be like kind of like a golf course. And their idea was even to have like gondolas going from Spirit Mountain down to here. But I think the main thing that kind of screwed it is, of course, like most of these capitalist people, they always want lots of corporate welfare. So I think they wanted like the city of Superior to build them a bridge out there and stuff like that. And obviously it was nice having this big green. So eventually that went bust. And then eventually some charity bought that and then they turned it into protected land. So that's nice. So yeah, that would have really, I used to live right out in the area. It would have sucked. We actually canoed out there a few times. There's actually a place you can land on the canoe. They go over there on the island there. Anyway, so right across, there's Spirit Mountain. So you can see that, okay, there's West Duluth, and that's where Highway 35 comes up there. And then right behind about there is like Proctor. And you can actually see up at Proctor, I noticed like from down low, if you have a powerful enough binoculars and it's clear day, you can actually see that McDonald's thing from above the hill. But anyway, I just noticed this program has kind of cool. It's got the clouds moving here. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know, now you might not get that much more than just looking at Google Earth by watching this video with me. I don't know, maybe it just makes it easier for me to navigate, and I see more like the 3D. I don't know, look up, down. Okay. I can show you the pass-through thing if my room wasn't so dirty right now. So anyway. All right, so you can see there's that wedge. Okay, there's Grand Avenue that comes here, and then Highway 35, and there's really no way to even, until you get way down to like the end of that big mass there, see that? There's really no way to even, so pretty much if you're like anywhere down there, you pretty much got to drive all the way around to get up like the Spirit Mountain. I mean, I think there might have been I'm not sure if there might have been some road in one of these that used to be, it was a real crappy road, but now it's closed or something, because I don't understand, but as far as I know, it's like, it's a pretty long distance where it's like, where you'd have so I guess when you think about it, we have like that one thing as far as places that are really close as far as a crow flies, and then places that are, but they take a long time. There's that, I saw that stretch across the bay there that I showed you. And then of course this across, over the mountain here, so Spirit Mountain. And okay. And then over here, if you keep going this way, this is Bordun Peak, this one right here. And let's see, there's a place here where there's a bike path that goes through an old railroad tunnel, and it's pretty cool. Need to go back there again sometime. Okay. Yeah, so anyway. So, okay, so I think, is it this right about there? I guess, I don't know if that's the one called Bordun Peak or one of those. Anyway, so that's Midway Road, which Midway Road is really important on this. It's sort of like the important dividing line of the universe of Duluth. Well, basically, pretty much once you get past that, you're off the Duluth complex, and you can see how there is kind of like the plateau. Like there's, okay, I think down here it's actually technically called Beck's Road. Then it switches over. But anyway, but you could see there that we're Midway Road. Let's see. Oh, I'm getting a little. Oh, okay, okay, here we go. Okay, you got Midway Road or Beck's. I forget where it changes names, but anyway. But you can also kind of see that it kind of goes right along the edge of the plateau here. Not exactly, but if you look at geology maps, I guess there's not quite as much of a sharp plateau, but even so, it is still down at like the edge of that, so you can still see, and it is like a thing. So basically, it is a thing that once you get past that, you're off of what they call the Duluth complex. So Duluth complex is this plateau that's got a certain type of rock and igneous rock and everything. Once you get off that, you're off the Duluth complex. So, and then but if you go this way, this is kind of interesting, and I actually maybe just learned this a couple of weeks ago. Actually, okay, so, but if you go to the west here, you'd think this is all like the same kind of rock, but actually, it turns out that that's different. Even though it's a pretty uplifted area, it's not quite as high as this area. But if you go up here along the St. Louis River, this is actually a different zone that's the same zone that Jay Cook State Park is in, which is a little further up, and it's got more like stuff like metamorphic rock, gray wick, this slate. It's got this slate that's all like that's tilted and stuff. So anyway, it's that. So it is kind of like it's kind of similar. I mean, but it's but technically, if you're looking at the differences, that it's different enough that you can. Okay, so up here. Okay, so let's go back a little bit. Okay, so if we go up the St. Louis River, we're pretty much going to go up end up at Jay Cook State Park, and if you go up highway, I forget which highway it is, but anyway, if you go up the highway, it basically goes right along the St. Louis River. So you can see that right about here, this is probably still the estuary. Okay, this is still where there's no rapids yet. Okay, so you're pretty much still just like at the that same elevation as Lake Superior at this point. There's more like a wetland. And by the way, this whole area, as you get further up here, it's more like it's pretty wide, the St. Louis River, but it's actually pretty shallow. Now, depending they used to have shipping traffic that went further up the St. Louis River, so they used to keep it dredged more. But but now once you get past that last dock that's up there, pretty much like there'd be no way now for like a ship to come down here. But anyway, so let's see. Okay, so you're here in the St. Louis River estuary. Let's see, that's the Highway 23 bridge, and let's just say right about here. Now you can see that, okay, it's been altered because of the dam, but I guess this part you see, okay, so you see here, I don't know, are we starting to get like rocks, basically, so a little bit of rapids, let's see. Okay, yeah, oh yeah, there you go, because you can see that this is past it, so even though this dam is here, this is where these are original rapids here, you can see, so... Yes, this is where you start getting the rock in the river, and so it actually starts raising it. So now the water is actually falling. It's not just at the elevation. And because now it goes through some pretty dramatic falls, and because of that, there's some dams here and some electricity being generated. Now that's the dam there, and let's see. Actually, that's the powerhouse, and let's see. I think it's let me see how this works. Okay, I guess that one, it's just, okay, maybe there's a couple different ones. Okay, this one, I think it's just, okay, it just goes down through the powerhouse there. There's just a little bit of a channel there. And I think a lot of these, like, don't go, like, all the time, too. I think they might do during certain peak times. I mean, obviously, it all depends on how much water's in the river. Okay, so then we go up the river a little more. Okay, yeah, here we go. So so there's the original river there, okay? All nice and tame and everything. Okay, but some nice rock. But what this is see that pipe going through. So that's what they did, is they diverted the water there, and then water. Yeah, so you can see the lake there. Yeah, so you can see there that whole channel. They channel water into the hydroelectric plant. And then some of the water, and they can decide here, okay, how much water they want to let to go into the original river. Now, I know there's some places where I had been like in the Appalachian Mountains where they maybe just like a couple days a week, they would let water go down the river for rafting and stuff, so they controlled it like that because they were using it for the dam for generating power. But anyway, all right, so then you can see what happens is, okay, yeah, let me go back a little bit. Okay, yeah, actually, see, there you go. I just learned something myself. I hadn't thought about that before. Okay, this whole, that lake, that dam there, because I've been to this dam here at Carlton before, and there's really some nice rocks there and stuff. But I didn't notice that, okay, this dam is actually what diverts the water into this big channel for the power. And then there's like this whole land. This is sort of like our version of the land between the lakes, if you want to think about the Tennessee River Valley thing. Anyway, but this is... Or you could also, I was also going to say by analogy, that place where the rocks start That's sort of like the fall line in, let's say, it's in Washington, D.C. It's in a lot of places along the East Coast, Columbia, South Carolina. So anyway, just by analogy. Okay, so let's go back here. So this is the massive area, the Olenberg. Okay, okay. This is the Olenberg Overlook, or let's see. Wait, okay. Let me get my directions a little screwed up here. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. This is okay. Right, like right here. Okay, this is all Jay Cook State Park, all along here, and then some of it goes, across the river here, and then you can see. I mean, it's all nothing's built in this area. So yeah, and then okay, so this is really a nice rapids going through here. And then that's called the Olenberg Overpass right there. That's a nice place. We actually, me and my friend went and we had a fire and some bratwurst right overlooking that cliff there. So that's really a nice thing. And actually, there wasn't really even that many people doing it, So actually, even like even though there's a pretty good amount of people at Jay Cook State Park, but really, if you go back, there's a lot of places where there's all kinds of back areas where there's not really that many people. You can have like a barbecue or something. It's like because I guess most people just do the main thing, go to the swinging bridge. Okay, so the most famous thing. Oh yeah, by the way, you can kind of see that. It's kind of hard to see in this, but you can kind of see it that a little bit even this shot, that kind of tilted rock, that's along here. Okay, so there's another video I did about dogs a couple of videos ago that you could watch too, where I was down here at Jay Cook State Park. Although I was mostly on that video concentrating on the dog angle, so I wasn't filming all the landscape as well. But anyway, yeah, yes, that's a famous swinging bridge. And see, there's lots of rock on both sides. And I went there earlier this year during the spring melt, and it was just like really awesome, really a lot of water. Okay, so let's just see what else we want to see about Duluth area. Okay, and then of course the other thing. Okay, so once you get above the hill, though, it's pretty much flat land. I mean, you'll see some outcroppings in some areas, but not as much. I mean, there are some areas that have a lot of boulders, but I understand that's because of the glacier erratics that you have. That those can almost be anywhere. These boulders that are just kind of out in the. Now that's the main line there. Okay, that's actually the Canadian Northern line that goes through here, goes up to the Iron Range, and then goes all the way down. Oh, you know what? That might be a fun little thing to see. That if you follow this line here, this is one of the main ones where iron ore from the Iron Range comes down the hill here. In fact, yeah. All right, there you go. Around the hill here. Okay, there's that. There's me. Slow down a little bit. Okay, so there's McDonald's. This railroad here goes down the big steep hill here. And I don't. Let's see. We don't need to trace the entire thing, but basically it goes down here. Okay. Well, you can see it there. Okay, the rail line. And then it goes all the way down here, and then. Oh, I guess it'd be cool if when they took this video if there was a ship here, but. Okay, yeah, and these are a lot of the docks here on the St. Louis River here. Oh yeah, I guess it's pretty obvious to note that because maybe I didn't say it before, because you have that giant sandbar that forms the bay here, which is protected water, because it's not. You always need to have. Oh, there is a ship there. Okay, good. Because it's a big protected. In nature, actually, harbors are kind of rare. So when you find a good harbor where it's naturally protected but big enough for ships can come in and stuff, then that's a good thing. So yeah, so the trains come down in this thing here, and then they I guess most of the time what happens is I guess maybe yeah, I guess they don't. I guess most of the time they're not loading it directly onto the ship. They're more. Maybe if they get low or something, but they always have that big pile. So I think they're mostly when the trains come down, they're loading it into the pile, not directly onto the ship. Would be what I would think. But anyway, with these giant ore docks here, yeah. So that's taconite. I don't know what that is. That lime or something. Okay, I'm not sure what the white stuff is, but anyway. And oh yeah, might as well go up the shore a little bit. And of course, there's lots of inland lakes. Once you get north of town, there's all these like reservoir lakes and stuff. There's actually a lot of lakes that are like free lakes that you can go camping on. They have islands. If you have a boat, you can go camp on them for free. Especially these reservoir ones that are owned by Minnesota. The lake is owned by Minnesota Power. But okay, so we're going up the shore now, and let's go back a little bit. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Okay. All right, so let's see. Here's the Glen Sheen Mansion. I think. Let's see. Oh, yeah, there's a parking lot. Yeah, that's the Glen Sheen Mansion. Okay. And then go up London Road here. Is that East, Duluth East? Yeah, I think so. Okay. Oh, by the way, yes, this is Lakeside or East Duluth. Now, obviously, the area right along the lake's really expensive. And even, yeah, I mean, Lakeside, it's known for being like the most expensive part of town. I mean, that doesn't mean that there's like super rich. But yeah, for its the size house and everything, yeah, and it probably, I guess, I mean, there's lots of maybe areas where you can say there's a nice house, but as far as like a continuous area where it's, so people always kind of joke about that. And one thing about there's not that many shops in this part of town, so about the only thing down here is like place to go shopping is like that Super One. So I don't know. All right, so now we're gonna. Okay, sorry. That's why I was having such a hard time finding Brighton Beach. I didn't realize that this golf course was that close to it. Okay, I guess you don't realize that when you just go to Brighton Beach. That was screwing me up because I thought that was further back. So anyway, I think that's the Leicester River there, and then okay. But if you go down here, okay, here it is right here. I mean, in this animation is not making it look too, but there you go. That's where there's like the walking and the biking, and that's where you got. It's one way going through this area. And there's a little fire pit area. Okay, so anyway. And well, maybe that's enough of Duluth for today, but yeah, I mean it's just a quick virtual aerial photography view. There's the airport right there. We're gonna fly into the airport. Anyway. Yeah, it's just kind of it's neat to get some perspective on what things look like in Duluth here, so here we are on the plateau. With nothing on the top but a bucket and a mop and an illustrated book about birds. See a lot up there, but don't be scared. Who needs action when you got words? Do. Okay, that's not copyright, is it? All right, yeah. Kind of interesting looking down here. Think about it. Just never knew I was on the plateau all this time. Well, actually, technically, I'm not really where I live. I'm not really on the plateau. I'm kind of the edge of the plateau, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so it's kind of the. Anyway, right down this way. All right, I guess I'll check out for now. For anybody who was watching the rest of this series, although this was a one-off video, it technically is part of the series where I was trying to go through these different things, this Hibbing Quaternity during the month. But as far as that, I'll just give you a little bit here real quick. It's you definitely can see both the abstract beauty that you usually see from a map. Okay, so that's one thing that. Because we wanted to look at that abstract beauty is out in the world, and when we see it in maps, it's a big thing. And then also we can say that we can see that flowing beauty because all the different curves in the area, and also we can say that we get enjoyment from going on maps because we kind of like circumambulate the area, just kind of go around a certain area, and it makes us feel like homes. We kind of like build up these kind of connections by thinking it over and seeing what's related to it. And then also looking at a map stirs up archetypes, the other part of our quadrant. So there you go. So that's just a quick thing for how it's played in case anybody's interested and actually watched this far into the video. This 30-day YouTube mini-series is a psychological experiment using Jungian psychology to live better and experience more this summer. I'm not a psychologist, just a layman looking to apply Jungian principles of life. I'm starting with the idea that the unconscious mind is very smart and tells us things. And believing in this, I drove up to Hibbing, Minnesota, and I found that 4 locations in Hibbing, Minnesota corresponded quite well to 4 different principles called the Hibbing Quaternity. The first one is the Hibbing Ghost Town, which the characteristics is you feel the echo of the past as the wind flows down established paths. This represents unconscious voice being in the center of a moving circle, the mother archetype, home, center, castle, etc. Character I'm coming up with here to explain it is Nellie, the ghost sheepdog mom who circles the area, protects and guides. The Greyhound Museum has to do with travel and also the Jungian idea of beauty as a way of mentally feeling your way into physical objects and flowing into life in general, flowing beauty, mentally becoming part of the object. The character here I'm coming up with is Flows With It, which is a Native American cartoon character who has a magic canoe, finds all past, glides over, portages, flows into life. Now the ore pit, it represents awe, the smallness of the individual, abstraction, and the way to in making the world simpler, more understandable. Connections, the beauty of symmetry, the beauty of maps, beauty of mathematics. And this is supposed to be Laser Nash. Doesn't look like him that much, but anyway, it's like John Nash with his cup sending out all these laser beams across, dividing the world, trying to find that order in the chaos from A Beautiful Mind, if you haven't seen that movie. Bob Dylan's home. It represents stories, archetypes, wishing to become someone else. DJ Hat Trick, what he does is he gets people into the groove by putting different hats on and sending people into different paths. It's sort of like the way we do whenever we listen to a song, for example. Here's a simplified view of the quaternity here that I'm going to be using for this 30-day adventure. And this is what it's going to more look like. I'm just going to do a simple sketch that I'll put in the video and then just kind of explain it like on a notepad like this to make it simpler so I can get it done. So I can do a video for 30 days. And so subscribe to get all 30 of those videos.